Hello, everyone. My name is Yulia Petrachuk, and I'm the artistic director of Lyrica Classic Entertainment. Thank you for watching our interview today with the organist Stephan Harouff that will perform second part of our virtual concert, Organ Apotheosis, next Sunday at noon at Chapel of Our Lady of the Angels in Catonsville in Maryland. To attend the event, please register on its website. The link is in the description under the video. Stephan Harouff is a graduate of the Peabody Conservatory as an organist and West Virginia University as a pianist. Stephan has received a has served as a music director and organist at Towson Presbyterian Church since 2014. Leading choir for children, youth, and adults, directing handbells, and leading congregational songs for the organ and piano. He also works as conductor for Encore Creativity for older adults. Hello, Stephan.
Hi there.
Would you like to add anything to your biography?
That's pretty much it right now. Well,
thank you for the work you are doing with our youth and by educating them and introduce the beauty of art from an early age.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, how did you start to be involved in music? Were your parents musicians?
Everyone in my family on both my mother and father's side played an instrument of some kind. They were all musical. I was the only one crazy enough to try to make a career of it. But yeah, everybody in my family was musical in some way. My great grandmother was the pianist for the local country Methodist church. And so some of my earliest memories are of sitting on the piano bench beside her while she practiced her hymns.
Oh, that's nice. That's wonderful. So, handbells. I have never seen a concert of handbells. It must be fun. What is the process of learning how to play the bells? Anybody can do that, or you need to have a special talent?
You need to be able to read music reasonably well. Having a piano background is pretty helpful because a handbell score looks very similar to a piano score or an organ score. All of the notes of the piece are there on the grand staff, and each player is assigned their specific bells that they hold in their hands, and whenever their note comes up, they ring it. And so it really requires a dozen or so people to really intensely work in tandem to make the music. And I think that's why it has become so popular as a church ministry, because it really forces people to work together.
Yeah.
Come in community with one another.
Absolutely. Is there like composers who compose the pieces, like particularly for handbells, or it's usually part of some like orchestral piece or a choir piece?
No, handbell repertoire is a thing of its own. There are many composers that compose for the handbells. There are maybe half a dozen or so that are very well known for doing that.
Do you accept anybody?
It's a ministry within the church where I'm employed. So everyone is a member of the church, and yeah, they need to be able to read music somewhat well, and beyond that, my job is to work with folks and train them as we go.
Okay, that's great. That sounds really fun. So you have two educations in piano and organ. Where did you start first?
I was a pianist long before I was an organist.
Okay.
I started taking piano lessons when I was a young child. Um, I went to college to study music education, and that first year in my degree program, the piano faculty kind of came to me and said, "Well, if you're going to spend this much time practicing the piano, then you should really declare a double major." And so I did. So my undergrad was in music education and piano.
Mm-hmm.
Um, while I was an undergrad, I began taking organ lessons because it was an interest. And that's kind of how I paid my way through college. I was the organist for a church in my university town. Um, so I finished my degree in piano and began teaching public school in Annapolis, Maryland, and found out very quickly that you could not survive in Annapolis on a beginning teacher salary. And so
Mm-hmm.
I needed a second job very, very quickly. And it just so happens that a position just was open at the right time and I was in the right place. Um, and so I became the organist for a downtown church in Annapolis. And things were not going wonderfully well with my teaching in the public school system, and things were going amazingly well with my church work. And so life started to veer off in a different direction. And so I went back to grad school for organ. So I didn't really I played the organ, but I didn't really begin to focus on it until I was 25 years old and preparing for my grad school auditions.
I'm sure the piano education helped you a lot
Yes,
to play on organ. So is it obviously organ is much more complex instrument? Uh, is it
it's a
like much more difficult to play? I have never
it's
played.
a it might be a more complex instrument, yes, but they're just two different instruments.
Mhm.
You play the piano like a piano, and you play the organ like an organ. Um, you know, the keys are laid out in black and white the same way. Um, that's pretty much the only similarity. You know, they're two different instruments.
Okay. So what usual repertory are you playing? Are you performing? Are you performing also as a like solo organist?
Mhm. You know, I've not done much solo
Mhm.
performing in a long time.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, my as I said, my full-time job is here with the church, and
Mhm.
so a significant portion of my time goes into preparing music for our worship services. So playing hymns and realizing hymns that will inspire a congregation to sing and sing with enthusiasm.
Mhm.
Um, I play many pieces based on the hymn tunes of those congregational songs. Um,
So it's like improvisations.
I you could say that I am not an avid improviser myself. I much prefer to play compositions by other composers,
Mhm.
but those compositions by other composers could have begun as improvisations that they
Mhm.
played.
Mhm. So, of course, most of the music you're playing is sacred. Is it for you just a genre you're performing or something more?
You mean is do I specifically choose sacred repertoire as
No, of
my
course you don't
focus?
choose because you are yeah, you are playing in the church. But we just had a conversation with composer Eli Tamar, and he basically explained me that if you compose sacred music, it doesn't mean that you are religious, for example. Yeah,
Ah,
so this is just a genre.
mhm. Well, so the organ allows me to be the sort of musician that I want. Um, I love practicing the organ. I love practicing the piano.
Mhm.
That is mostly my own work. I do it all by myself. But being an organist allows me the opportunity to work with many, many, many people at once. It allows me to, well, it gives me a venue to be a choral conductor
Mhm.
and rehearse various choirs. It gives me the opportunity to educate the membership of our church in hymnody and inspire them to sing and have music in their lives. So the organ is sort of a pathway towards
Mhm.
the being the sort of musician that I love. Um, my main goal, my main passion is encouraging just unabashed expressions of faith through music.
Mhm. That's wonderful. Okay, so have you ever had experience to play contemporary organ music?
Sure.
It's all
Many of the
depends.
pieces, yes, many of the pieces that I play have been, composed in the last few years to last 50 years.
Mhm.
Um, I really enjoy playing pieces that haven't been recorded before.
Mhm.
So I, I like when I don't have some outside influence to tell
Okay.
me what to do. I like the thought process of figuring it out for myself. Um,
Yeah, I understand that very well. Yeah, I also
mhm.
like it. So, do you find it more difficult in that sense?
It's a different challenge, yes.
Mhm.
It's a different challenge in that you don't have any suggestions for how to do it.
Mhm.
A different way of thinking. Whereas if you're playing older repertoire that has been recorded and performed,
Artistic.
thousands and thousands of times, you have that guidance, but that can also be a hindrance to your own personal creativity.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. So next Sunday you're performing sacred music, yeah, of contemporary composer Eli Tamar, who I mentioned earlier. So what is your experience with his music? Was it difficult to learn?
Well, my experience so far, I admit that I didn't know him before learning these pieces, and I'm really hungry to learn more of his work. I thoroughly enjoy studying the pieces, especially the Canticum.
Mhm.
Um, the the atmosphere in his music, and he really wrote for the organ very well. I mean, despite it exists for organ and orchestra, but it's very idiomatic to the organ. It works really well. Um,
Well, I'm
it
sure.
was I would say maybe the challenge in that is just the frequency at which the time signature changes.
Mhm.
In my scores, I took a pencil and I wrote in every measure, how many beats were in each measure. And so, I can focus on the notes, and then I just have that very, very quick little note that tells me, okay, I need to count to 6 in this measure. I need to count to 5 in this measure, or this measure goes to 7.
Mhm.
Um, but beyond that, no, it was really a joy to learn.
Well, I'm sure Ellie will be thrilled to hear this from you. Uh, and I hope when we will be open, we can perform this music live
Would
at
love
some
to.
beautiful venue. So, what are the difficulties the organists are facing today? Is there enough opportunities on the market to perform? What do you think?
Sure. Well, of course, the primary employer of organists would be churches.
Mhm.
So I suppose if you have a desire to be an organist,
Mhm.
but you don't have a desire to be employed by a church,
Mhm.
then your opportunities are going to be relatively limited. Um, I suppose if you have the ability to be a full-time performer or a full-time teacher,
Mhm.
you can earn a living that way. There are many churches out there looking for an organist.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, most of those positions are part-time. So an organist would need to do that and have another significant source of income.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm very fortunate that I happen to have a full-time position with a church.
Do you also teach organ?
I used to. I used to have a studio of about 10 or a dozen or so students. And over the years, as I've moved more towards ensemble direction, choral conducting, and as I have found more work doing that, I've let my private studio dwindle. And in fact, since the pandemic began, I've not been teaching any one-on-one organ students.
Of course. Well, you are working also, yeah, with Encore Creativity for older adults.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit more about this community.
Well, it's a pretty fascinating organization.
Mhm.
So our mission is to well, first of all, we are an organization for people 55 and older. So you have to be at least 55 years old to sing with us. And we do not audition singers. We will take anybody who is interested in learning and singing with an ensemble. And of course, that has its challenges, but it is also wonderful in so many ways. And so our mission is just to get people out of the house and socialized and learning music and actively engaging with others. Um, most of our students are retired or at least semi-retired.
Mhm.
Our rehearsals are during the day, and we have 15-week semesters, and at the end of each semester, we give a series of concerts. And we've performed in venues such as Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. We perform regularly at the Kennedy Center in D.C. We have traveled. We've done a Canadian tour. We've done an England tour. We sang numerous times on the Queen Mary 2 on a transatlantic voyage.
Mhm.
So it's really a wonderful organization. And there are a few retired professional musicians
Mhm.
among those ranks, but
Mhm.
the overwhelming majority of singers are avocational singers.
Mhm.
This as a hobby, as something to learn in retirement. And so from my experience, I get to hear all of their stories because their stories are so drastically different from my own. They have had their careers in a variety of professions, and so I get to hear their points of view and their stories. So it's a really marvelous way to teach music and to make music with people.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. Yeah, and it's great that you can serve not only the art but also people of different all ages. Yeah, wonderful. And we're coming to the end of our interesting conversation. Please share us a little bit about your future plans, projects, concerts, anything you would like to share with our audience.
Well, in the immediate future, the future of choral conducting and congregational song is a bit up in the air at the moment. We're not able to gather to sing right now. Um, so my future in well the next year or so will be an interesting time as the past year has been as well. Um, for all of my singing ensembles, we're doing virtual music. We're doing virtual choirs. We rehearse through a Zoom platform, and then they all record their own parts, and they get combined into a video that gets put together. That is extraordinarily time consuming.
Yes.
Just outrageously time consuming. So that is a very significant part of my work right now. We are exploring ways to come back together to make music. The organ work will continue to go on. You know, we still worship every Sunday, every week, and I still play repertoire. I play voluntaries before the service and after the service.
Mhm.
The organ work doesn't change drastically. Um, and that's one piece of my career that thankfully there is a small sense of stability in right now. But the choral work, the gathering people to sing together, that is going to be changing significantly, and we are writing the rules one day at a time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, hopefully everything will be over soon. Hopefully.
All fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stephan, for sharing with us about yourself and your artistic experience. And thank you everyone who watched our interview today with our guest, Stephan Harouff. And I remind you that you can see Stephan playing new sacred organ music composed by contemporary composer Eli Tamar at our virtual concert next Sunday, April 25th at noon. To attend the event, you must register on its website. The link is in the description under the video. Well, thank you so much again, and I will see you on Sunday. And have a great and wonderful rest of this sunny day.
Thank you. You as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye, everyone.